Well, this is what happens when you don't winterize your sprinkler system. This is going to be an interesting video. I'm going to try to give you a little bit of an explanation of what happened. I got a call from a guy who manages some property. Thing is he was in Rome, Italy, and it was 4 a.m. in Rome. And he says, I got an emergency. There's been some sort of crazy freeze break in the front yard at such and such house. Can you go over and figure it out? The city just turned the water off to the house at the meter. The tenant doesn't have any water. He gave me a little bit of background. He says, I've had several people look at this sprinkler system and there's no way to turn the water off. There's no backflow preventer, no vacuum breaker, there's no valve box in the ground. The owners told him that the only way they've been winterizing the sprinkler system is by just turning the sprinkler clock off every year since they bought it like 4 years ago. The owners have not wanted to address this, and this winter it came back to bite them in the ass, big time. The first section of video is the first time it happened. I got it fixed, and then it happened again. So I told the property manager, the water's on, nothing's leaking. The tenant has water, they can flush, they can take showers, but there's still water in these pipes underground right up to these plastic valves that I was able to shut off. You need to get a landscape company in here and do a proper repair on this system. You got to be able to shut the water off to all these little valves. They didn't do that. They were hoping they could make it till springtime or summer and have a company come in and do a full irrigation system. They didn't make it very far. About 4 weeks later, it happened again in the backyard. And you got to see it. The video clip's at the end. It's also up on my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. I'll put that link in the description. Okay, what you're looking at is the water coming into the house. And then it goes up to a shutoff. And then it goes up to this shutoff here is for the hose spigot. Man, I can't believe it hasn't frozen before. I mean, right there is a vent. Crawl space vent, and it's surprising this thing hasn't froze before, or very well could have. But now I'm going to follow this line. It's galvanized pipe. I was thinking it was copper, but it's galvanized. It could change to copper later on down the line here. And just trying to find some sort of water pipe that penetrates and supplies the sprinkler line, because there's got to be a source for that sprinkler system, and then that's where we're gonna either cut it, cap it, and wait for spring to do a proper install, or we'll have to kind of see what we find and go from there. Okay, where are we at here? We got, looks like a hot and a cold. This probably goes up to the kitchen sink. Yeah, there's a drain right there. Lots of copper. That looks like an abandoned sewer line right there. We got more heavy-duty copper going over to a new sewer line. We've got that little line there is probably for either a refrigerator, ice maker, or an old water supply for a swamp cooler or a whole house humidifier. So I'm going to make my way along this back wall here, just trying to find water pipe that would go outside of the house. You can see right here we've changed from galvanized to copper. So here's an update. There really is no water shut off for this sprinkler line or an outside valve box. That appears that that's an outside valve box, but there's no valves in it. So I removed the sprinkler head, broken one, it's around here somewhere, and just spliced the line back together. What's interesting is this is a modern pipe, flexible plastic, standard sprinkler pipe, but there is no modern backflow preventer or anything that you would find in a modern underground sprinkler system. Okay, I got some bad news. The zone for the front sprinklers is on. Don't know where that valve is. This valve box here, completely empty. So we've got a sprinkler head there, sprinkler head right there, sprinkler head right there. This one here, I just spliced that. I really don't know what I thought that was going to do. Just kind of troubleshooting at this point. I think I'm going to have to start digging. I'll show you out back real quick what I'm talking about. Actually works. So these are sprinkler control wires coming from the sprinkler clock to the backyard. And I started digging, and then I found these here. I believe there could be some buried valves inside, way down in here. There's another old cast iron ring right there. I'm guessing it goes down a ways and there's a way to shut it off. There's probably something similar in the front yard, and I gotta start digging to find it. So right now I got the water on, sprinkling the front yard in January, at least so that this guy who rents this house can get his toilets filled up, flushed, refilled. So now I'm going to shut the water back off at the water meter, which will kill the water to this whole front yard. Then I'll start digging. Here's another update. I don't know if I told you earlier, I forgot an SD card for my other camera, so I'm doing this with the phone. So I traced these two low voltage wires from the sprinkler clock that is in the garage. Just started digging and digging and digging, and about 3 inches below the dirt I found this cap on top of this little piece of PVC, and then found this valve, and luckily it was not seized up or anything, and I was able to turn it right off, and now the water is on at the meter and there's no leaks. And this, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. I got to backfill all this business here and document all this for the owner and give suggestions. I'm not going to sign up for this landscaping sprinkler job in the spring, but just so that he knows what to expect when he hires a landscape company, I'll tell him everything that I found. But still, this is concerning. This valve here is only 6-8 inches below grade here, and it definitely can freeze. There's water in there. I believe there's probably a little bleeder somewhere in here that what people used to do, and I'm not gonna mess with it because I don't want to break anything, is that you probably would reach down in this tube here and undo a bleeder valve. Still has to be a way to shut the water off to this thing. There's probably another cap like this somewhere in the yard that is like down deep, that taps into the water main, that shuts the water off to the sprinkler system. It probably isn't inside the house. This is a 1950s house. So there you go. It's only noon on Monday. Got this thing knocked out in a couple hours. Again, yes, me deleting this sprinkler head here really wasn't necessary. It was kind of going off of what the tenant was telling me, saying that this is the only one that's spraying or it's broken or something. Anyways, come springtime, I know that straight out from this tree and this little divot is a good spot to put a sprinkler head. So this is what happens when you don't winterize your sprinkler system. Whoa! The camera won't give much depth perception to how deep this ice and these ice craters are. Holy cow. There's a sprinkler head right there. I just dug it all up and got them shut off. So what actually really happened is the valves that I eventually turn off, somehow they failed. They got too cold and they popped open, but I was still able to manually shut them off. Do you have any suggestions about where the mystery shutoff is? I thought about getting a metal detector and going around the front yard and following the water main in, and I bet there is a buried manhole cover, like a little manhole cover, that you go down and somehow shut the water off to this old underground sprinkler system. Please give the video a like. Feel free to share it with anybody that might enjoy it. Goodbye.